So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true. And good evening and welcome to the Traffic Report. It's snowing in Appalachia. It's not as cold in Philly. And what's it like in the Pacific Northwest, Catherine?
75, 76, beautiful, really beautiful.
Wow.
Sorry, not sorry.
Good for you. I'm glad you're
not sorry
dealing with it.
We need rain.
Interesting day today. Yeah. Well,
I've been ragging on Catherine all day about her California politicians.
Oh my God.
Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Dianne Feinstein. Do I have to go on?
Jerry Brown.
Brown.
Yeah, you forgot him. Goodness.
It's really kind of a shame she wasn't in Harvey Milk's office.
Oh.
I just had to say that. The mayor of San Francisco, when children were being raped at the Presidio, and it was common knowledge, and that bit of doing nothing got her the influence needed to become a United States senator, and she's been dug in like an Alabama wood tick ever since. Really.
That's a good analogy. Oh, yikes!
Makes me want to throw up, but
she is.
We can't get bogged down in that. There's just too much good stuff going on.
I know, but Dianne Feinstein.
We're getting a phone call.
Yeah.
It's her. She didn't like the Harvey Milk thing. No, sorry, Diane. No, I'm not.
She is leading the charge against sexual abuse in amateur athletics. Dianne Feinstein is, and the House passed a bill on Monday night that would require amateur athletic organizations to immediately report sex abuse allegations to law enforcement and strengthen oversight of gymnasiums, amateur sports organizations, and coaches. The new mandatory reporting requirement would apply to 46 amateur sports with governing bodies recognized by the U.S. Olympic Committee, including gymnastics, figure skating, basketball, football, swimming, and track and field.
Thank you, Diane. That'll do as much good as the law that requires physicians to report such abuse. That in the Nassar case, that did just about as much as this law will do.
Because before they weren't required to report this. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, they're grasping at straws, and I think they're in their death throes. It sounds like, and it couldn't happen to a better bunch of people. Apparently, Donald Trump is releasing the memo tomorrow, which is pretty big news, I would say.
I'm so afraid I'm going to be disappointed. There's been such a build-up, and I'm thinking, well, whatever. That's,
Well, maybe
it's been a long day. I don't know.
No, usually I would feel the same, because anything that gets hyped up that much, like we've often said, like, listen, even if they took down a certain person, whomever, even if John Podesta got, they found out it was him on the fatherhood video and they arrested him. I mean, that's all symbolic. We're trying to, wake people up to reality that this is happening in every walk of life. So, whether a memo comes out, that's more of a deep state kind of thing. But there's not one thing. There is not one thing that is ever going to, crack, blow everything wide open. It's not going to happen. It's going to be many, many, many pieces to the puzzle. So,
well, what was encouraging to me was Thomas Paine said, this is how you know whatever's in the memo is very, 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 very bad. Referring to Nancy Pelosi telling what's his name to resign.
Right.
That Paul Ryan needed to call for him to, resign immediately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way the Democrats are reacting to this, there must be something pretty bad in there.
Well, so, let me read to you what it's about, and it's about the FISA warrants, and it's about a Department of Justice investigation, and the papers from the investigation have already been leaked, and this is just one of them, one of 22, the Democratic National Committee breach dossier, where the Department of Justice is naming Seth Rich as the one that broke into the DNC IT server room, transferred the files to an external hard drive. They even had the transfer rate, and it went through what it covered: the Obama, the daily briefings, Clapper, CIA, Brennan. After that happened, Brennan and Clapper met with 12 individuals, continued to be monitored and are subjects of latter investigations. Using the information provided, Mr. Brennan reached out to his department at Google, requesting that they fund an organization called CrowdStrike. How many? George Webb was talking about CrowdStrike about a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. So it's all.
Well, I mean, if this has something to do, yeah, we didn't. John, you and I didn't go down to Washington D.C. and stand in front of DNC, about for Seth Rich because it was something to do. We've always believed that if we can prove that they've lied about Seth Rich, which we know that they have, then now that opens up the floodgates. Okay, you lied. You lied about Russia. The DC police never investigated Seth Rich. Now it's like, well, if you didn't investigate Seth Rich, now it's like, oh, maybe Pizzagate doesn't seem so crazy anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like that, that opens up. So if that's, if there's something about Seth Rich in this memo, wow. Well, then
if there's something about Seth Rich in that memo, I will. Wow, I don't know. I'll probably walk on air tomorrow. I've actually been pretty happy about the different things that have been going on. So I like watching Don Jr.'s tweets and such. So, man, wasn't he one of the ones that they were talking about doing an assassination on one of his kids or something? Isn't that what it was?
Not sure on that one, but I'm sure they're capable of it.
Well, I think that Trump and Don Jr. they were both targets. So
well, I think the only thing that saved him was the Marines that have surrounded him, and the loyalty of the armed forces above the loyalty of the deep state and the Brennans and the Clappers of our world. So I think we're well on our way. I really do. The pace of this is just increasing. It's multiplying. If you looked on Pedogate News today, I mean, it's coast to coast, little towns, big towns, the Boy Scouts again. We've got the IOC. It came out today that the head of the International Olympic Committee, and the Winter Olympics are coming. I'm going to tweet out the hashtag tonight. IOC knew, and they sure did. And 30 little girls were raped in that year by Nasser, while the IOC just held on to that information and didn't do a thing with it. And those people need to go to jail, because we were talking about this earlier. This BS that they're pushing in Congress now, reporting and all that. Nobody gives two shits about that. And the only thing that is going to turn this around in any meaningful way, other than the wonderful survivors that are coming forward, they're going to blow it out of the water. But the only thing that is going to mean anything to these organizations, who are all practitioners of institutional child rape, from the Vatican to the IOC to the Congress of the United States. I mean, the only thing that's going to get through to any of those people, or people that know about it and are allowing it to continue, is when people start going to jail for years on major felonies. And hopefully that's what's going to start happening. And
well, people have to push for it, and instead of laws becoming more relaxed, they have to push for more and more stringent. They've got to hit them as, I mean, my Pedo Island is the perfect thing. I'm telling you. Because the rule would be, once you get on that island, you never get off. You will die on that island.
Well, we've got
some.
Wait
a second. Let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you have that person that's in that boat, and there's no one in that boat with them, because we have drones in the air in my Pedo Island, and I've got this all worked out. He's in that boat, and he's on his way out to Pedo Island, and he knows he's never coming back. And he also knows that he's going to an island full of people that are predators and cowards, and so he has that to look forward to. That will frickin' change some minds. I'm telling you, it will. Maybe even more than the death penalty.
Well, and we've said this before, and this is going to be the case, that there isn't going to be enough room to house these animals, and at least we have some
Louisiana swampland. That's why you use Louisiana swampland. You just keep making islands, but I'm telling you, it will slow this down. And if you just look at how people plea bargain things down, and people, they will do anything to get the death penalty taken off of the table, in their case, just, for instances. So if you have a pedo island, I'm telling you, they're not, because there's not going to be the plea bargain thing going on anymore. That would stop. In my perfect world, if I were, president for the day, it would stop.
Well,
and once you get on that island, you do not get off. You will die there. The end.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and
I really am going to put it all together, and I am going to present it to Donald Trump, and he can do it. I think he'll probably see it as a pretty good plan myself.
Oh, but here's the thing.
Look at how much money that it would save, because you put everybody on that island, And the maintenance, no, you're maintaining your own island. You don't maintain your island, I don't care. Live in shit, I don't care.
Catherine, do you honestly? But here's my question, and this is why instead of just vanquishing these people off to an island, we don't have enough information about what's going on. I mean, I'm reading a story right now about it was posted to Pedogate News about a guy who another 20-something-year-old who raped a 4-year-old. I just lost the story, but I mean, do you think these people are even capable? Is there any type of deterrent for this? I mean, they know.
Yes,
they know what.
Yes, harsher penalties.
Some people are getting pretty harsh penalties. They're doing it anyway. They know most people.
There is no deterrence. They won't be deterred. They have to be eradicated, not deterred.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's
well,
like
if you put them on an island, they don't reproduce. They're not going to hurt anybody else.
You know what I'm saying, guys? The deterrent not to do it in the first place, like. If you do this, you're going to get a really harsh sentence. Some people, they know there's harsh sentences. There's been some harsh sentences, handed down.
No,
they know people are watching.
Not nearly enough. No, there has not been any sort of effort put forth, and everything about the whole thing has been weak. Even
Catherine, that's true. That's true.
Look at how few cases go completely through to a sentencing, and then look at how few cases actually someone gets, the book thrown at them as they should have. Very few. Very.
I think the point Howie's making, and I'd have to agree with them, with the generational aspect of this mental aberrancy. It doesn't matter. They could make it a death sentence, and they're still going to offend. The only time this is going to stop is when you remove enough of them from society to stop that cycle, and then you're going to see.
Well, right, but
not. I don't mean they shouldn't be. And I think it should be a life sentence. And in Florida, depending, and I think the ages should be older, but if you rape a child under 12 in Florida, you get a life sentence. It's like the 10-20 life in their handgun law. So there are some progressive laws, but they need to be standardized across the nation. I think maybe making it a federal crime, could do that.
Right. And, I think so. One of the things that I think one of the points that Howard, I think, was talking about, though, is understanding more why these people do what they do. We do know that many offend because they were abused when they were children.
Yep.
Now, we don't know so much about, why some choose to offend and why some choose not to. But I'm telling you, as a parent of a child who was molested, I cared up until that point. But when I found out that my own child had been harmed, I no longer gave two rips about why they did what they did. All I knew is that person, for the first 6 months, I thought they should die, and that was my plan. But, I had a good therapist and other good support, so thank God I didn't do that. And honestly, the temptation was very strong, and I had no intention of, trying to get away with anything. He just needed to die for hurting my child, for the love of God. And so, but I did get past that, and I got past that to do what I'm doing now. And so that's, pretty powerful to me, but it could have been stopped a long time ago had I just gone and shot him right between the eyes like I wanted to.
Yeah. Well, and what we've seen from the research, and I think there's just hasn't been enough research, but when you look at the individual cases, you've got, it seems to me anyway, that there's about half that become survivors and get into some sort of recovery from it, and then there's half that turn into abusers and predators. And I think once that switch has clicked, it can't be unclicked. And there's been no research whatsoever to show that rehabilitation is possible, that that they won't reoffend, and that's unfortunate that they were turned into monsters by abusers. But once that switch is clicked and you offend, that's it. I mean, we should never be in the position where we're trying to backtrack to see what caused this monster to offend. Once that starts happening, they're done. It should be a life sentence to your island, or the French Guiana, the penal colony, whatever it is. But they need to be removed from society, and that's the only time. And it's going to take years, maybe decades.
Let me. I'm going to say this. I'm going to tell on myself real quick, because I've said I'm going to try to be as transparent as possible. But when I had my son, at that time, I don't remember who it was, but there was some, sex. I don't know if they were specialists. Anyway, they did some sort of thing, and they put out their ideas of what sex should be and everything else. And I don't remember. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember that much about it. However, I remember that they were encouraging parents of their male children to massage their penis and stuff like that, because it would make them more.
That's got to be Kinsey. That's got to be Kinsey.
Probably.
God.
It's so vague. So okay, so that really came out strong when I had my son. So there was a day I was in my room. I had my brand new little baby. I was laying there. I was enjoying him, and I was nursing him. And literally, the idea crossed my head to touch him. And it scared me so bad, I almost threw my baby off the bed.
Wait, who told you to do this?
This is Kinsey. I know it's Kinsey.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure you're right.
No, but who told you?
I just read it somewhere, because I read everything.
Oh, they were encouraged.
But what I'm saying is that the idea crossed my mind when I'm just sharing that moment with my little baby, and it freaked me out, and I literally almost threw my baby off the bed because it scared me so bad. And I was like, dear God, So, I don't know if they have a moment like that. I'm sure. But the thing is that you don't say yes the first time, period, in the end. The end.
Yeah, and I think there are, and I think it's somewhere in something to do with DNA. I really do. That certain people are just not capable of crossing that line. They're just not. I mean, it's not in their DNA. And the ones, and you look at the generational abuse that has manifested itself in a pandemic of pedophilia. But not only do you have that, but you have the social engineering of the Kinsey Institute that's still in place, sitting there at Indiana University, being lauded as this wonderful institution that brainwashed generations of Americans to aberrancy, run by a bunch of pedophiles that were doing that type of stuff on 1- and 2-year-old kids. I mean,
well, right, and I was in a teen mother, but even as a teen, I knew that was crap. I mean, come on now. That's garbage.
But you think about now with all the teen mothers and misguided. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, who knows what ideas can be put in their head. The bottom line is we know this has been going on in all forms, and things have gone awry for so long. And right now, to me, when we talk about like deep state on the show, and we talk about things outside of child rape, and we've said it, it's all somehow interconnected, of like breaking down our society, population control,
manipulate the society,
right?
Social engineering,
yeah.
Right. In a traumatized society is an easier, led, controlled, manipulated society. Right. So
look at the information that's out there. Just say on the Clinton Foundation, and look at the millions and millions of Americans that still think that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are these wonderful, public servants. And I mean, and it's been right there, so that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't. I mean, you could do like a half hour. I mean, listen, you could watch that movie Clinton Cash, and it's enough food for thought that would make you take pause. Can I give? I want to give a little story, and I don't know why. I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences, and tonight I don't know. I got on to like Saturday Night Live. Somebody had tweeted something out, basically comparing Maxine Waters to James Brown, and I've done a thing. It was the Eddie. All right, I'll tell you how the whole thing went. This might take a couple minutes. So
I think the comparison could be made. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know if you remember from the '80s. Eddie Murphy did a skit, Celebrity Hot Tub.
Yeah, I remember.
So, right. So I had gotten his picture. You couldn't get the video off of YouTube. Videos.
God.
But there was a picture of Eddie Murphy at the very end, like sitting in the hot tub with the wig on, and and I used to tweet out that like, do you remember like when Maxine Waters, hosted Saturday Night Live? It looks like her. But anyway, I went on YouTube just to find it, and I got on this thing about like Phil, and I was looking for Eddie Murphy, and Phil Hartman stuff came up, and I'm very big Phil Hartman fan. And anyone that has never seen, let me just tell you, Phil Hartman's audition interview or skit for Saturday Night Live, it's absolutely brilliant. So anyway, I started watching some Phil Hartman stuff, and he started talking about, because he used to do a Bill Clinton impersonation, and it was not very flattering. And he was telling this story about how he was invited to England to perform in front of the royal family, and he was going to do his Bill Clinton thing, and then he got a call from someone in the UK that said, based on our relationship between the United States and UK, maybe it's best if you didn't do this. But then it just popped into my head. It's like, well, Phil Hartman was murdered, and he supposedly in a murder suicide by his wife. And then I just started thinking like, well, he was saying that Bill Clinton was not all too happy with his impersonations of him, and I don't know, got me thinking. I don't know who.
Well, it's funny.
His wife was on drugs.
No. I'm not. I'm just. I like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. And we're talking about Clintons.
Bill Clinton, he's a drug runner.
I wouldn't. I'm just saying. I don't know what happened that night, and I'm just.
Funny. You should bring up James Brown. Did you ever see him on CNN when he was all messed up?
Oh yeah.
Well, they should get that interview and play it, because he makes more sense than Maxine Waters does when she's on CNN.
I think that was a Larry. I think that was a Larry King Live, and yeah, James was James was he was a little off that night.
Yeah.
He was a little off that night.
I tweeted out a picture of a couple of the inmates on Pedo Island for you guys.
Okay.
I was going to try to live tweet tonight, and then I just forgot about it.
I'm live tweeting, but
Yeah, we you know after
what were we
by the way,
talking about? We were talking about something.
Saturday Night Live.
Okay,
Hey, after all these months, once in a while, it would be nice to get a couple live tweets.
We actually do. We actually do.
Oh, do we? I mean,
Yeah.
I look.
Toasty,
like a question
Toasty just
yeah, I saw.
liked our Pedo Island, and we do from time to time. It's
Shout
not-
out to Toasty. Shout out to my
Yeah,
friend and brother Toasty.
I guess
Yeah,
what I was saying, I would like a few more. I guess that's
Jack
what I
and
was
Yeah.
Jack
saying.
Shield.
I would like a few more. I would like a few more live tweets.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I was alluding to.
Throw us a bone,
John.
throw-
Yeah, John. You're
throw us a bone.
always so kind and say, oh, we get one every 12, every 12 shows.
every 12 weeks.
It's not like we never get one.
Whether we need it. What drives me nuts is the Twitter, whatever the hell those long things, whatever they are, with like 50 or 60 people on them,
Mm-hmm.
that just
Yeah.
are all over the notifications. Just all during the show. Both Traffic Report 1, Traffic Report 2, and not a word about what we're talking about. That's a little frustrating, but at any rate, so
Can I
the threads.
Yeah, that's right. Can I
I
switch
don't
up for?
even know how
I-
people do that. I don't know how people get all those people on one thread.
No, you just add somebody. You weren't used to do it. You would have to actually, type the name in, and it would actually count as a character. But then somewhere, I'm probably like 6 months ago, Twitter started allowing it. It was one of these things. So now you can actually have these threads. But I wanted to switch up. Are either of you familiar with this? His name's Mark Salling. He was a
yes,
star of Glee, and he was
Pedo Wood.
Yeah. He was arrested for child pornography. I don't know where it was. I didn't follow the story too closely.
California.
Mm-hmm.
No. How far? If it went through the courts, or he had just been arrested?
Yes, he was convicted, and
Oh,
his sentencing was coming.
He was
out.
going to be sentenced.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right, and commits suicide.
Right.
The point I wanted to make was that I was reading. I guess he just committed suicide, very recently. But I had gone on the thread when he was trending, and people's attitudes were, well, we're not condoning what he did, but he meant a lot to me in my youth, and anytime a person takes their own life, and there just wasn't the outrage over Mark Salling was watching child rape videos and downloading them and sharing them and God knows what else he was doing.
They're all offenders. Believe me, if they own
Mhm.
that, they're offenders. Sorry.
Right.
Well, they seemed like, because they were fans, and I guess his name on the show was Puck. And Puck, I've never seen Glee. I've seen a couple, blips of Glee or whatever.
I haven't even seen a commercial.
Yeah,
That's how much I do not watch.
He did this stuff, but he did have some. It just wasn't like that. Like how he's a piece of shit. Like there wasn't any of that. It was like, anybody that takes their own life is a shame, and sometimes it became about suicide. It became they were fans of the show, and he still brought something to my life, and he did these bad things, but it was always but, and I'm like, man, you just can't, and that's the way people's mind work. They almost it was like, he did this
Goes
thing, but
back to
Boy, isn't it sad?
Yeah, see, he had some naughty pictures on his computer.
Right, but you know what? Oh, he was so wonderful on the show. So that sort of, it doesn't make up for it, but it lessens the blow a little bit because he doesn't look like, the quote unquote stereotypical pedophile, long straggly hair, beard, unkempt, that guy, they'd be like, yeah, well, string him up. But because it's a guy, they recognize from TV, and apparently he's, I don't know how famous he is, but, and it's like,
that's how they get away with it, and that's why it continues to perpetuate.
I know.
And that's the whole impetus behind what Lori Handrahan's doing, is calling this what it is. And it's not possession of pornography. It's possession of child rape images. It is aiding and abetting in the rape of a child. I mean, that's call it what it is. All the euphemisms and legal terms and bullshit that we pull out, so we won't have to say that a child has been raped. Is that's part of the problem. And
I know God love Lori for being on that, because she is absolutely right. It isn't child pornography. Those children are not participating in anything. They are being raped and molested, and so we do need to be more careful about our conversation and be more specific, because that's how some things get watered down and get lost.
Yeah, and while we're talking about child rape and the aiders and abettors of child rape, the International Olympic Committee, with the Winter Olympics are coming up, and I know the Traffick report and Catherine and Howie and just about everybody else, that's involved with the Traffic report, and is going to make use of hashtags to point out that the IOC knew what Larry Nassar was doing, and we need to do something with the 30 girls, hashtag 30 girls, hashtag they knew, whatever, because while the director of their security, who now claims he couldn't send it up the chain because somebody told him not to. It's like, well, who would who below you would tell you not to do that? So we need to really shine the light on the fact that 30 minor children, women, young women were raped, while the International Olympic Committee did nothing, stood by and hoped it would blow over.
All right. Really? Well, the way we do that, then we get the article that explains it concisely. We get the hashtags, we get a thread, and we get the retweets going, and that's the way you have to do it. Because while Dianne Feinstein and Susan Collins of Maine are passing, legislation to say this never happens again. Whoa. That's what they want to do. And mandatory reporting, F mandatory reporting. Wait a second. Why was this allowed to go on for another year? Why wouldn't, and allow another 30? Because now they're complicit. They could have stopped that. Why were they holding on to that information? All right, so we'll get that. We'll put that tweet together, because that's what gets glossed over on all this. It's always like Larry Nassar, not Kathy Clegus, and and the other 30 girls, and
Michigan State. Michigan State.
Right. It's just Larry Nassar. Right. Larry Nassar. And most people have the attention span of a gnat, and they have the they won't do seconds of research.
Well, and I'm tweeting out right now, hashtag IOC new, hashtag 30 girls. It's going to the International Olympic at IOC Media. It's going to at Michigan State. It's going to at USA Gymnastics. So if you can think, just quote the tweet and at DOJ, Department of Justice, at FBI. You know, whatever you can add to that.
All right.
Because,
but also, you know, and then, but then what I'm saying is you retweet it with everyone's name in there. It gets, you know, then you can send it out to, you know, 20 people, and then they can start retweeting, and then it starts to grow.
It's a prototype.
Okay, right. No, I'm just saying.
I want to do it right now.
I know. My little strategy. Can I jump back to this Mark Salling thing for a second?
Sure.
There's one tweet. I know we're bouncing back and forth, but there's somebody apparently named Tim Davis. He's and if you go to the hashtag Mark Salling, he's his tweet, and it has 3,000 retweets, 8.3 thousand likes. Tim Davis is a husband, dad, mentor, friend, producer for the film and television ABC's boy band, The Goldbergs, Glee, work with something media and something else. Okay? So he's involved with ABC's The Boy Band, whatever that is, and the TV show The Goldbergs. Wink, wink.
Got it.
Yeah, how about that? All right. So his tweet on January 30th. Today we lost another Glee cast member. Yes, he committed crimes against children. Yes, it's horrific. But Mark Salling was a broken man, no doubt an abuse victim himself. I loved Mark, and sad I consider the devastation of his parents. Please withhold your cruel comments. So, all right. So no doubt an abuse victim himself. All right. So what do you know, Tim? What do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then right. So, but it's once again, but he was a broken man. No, you know, so, you know, don't say anything bad against him for having 25,000, I think somebody said 25,000 videos and images. Children as young as
I'm sorry. Too bad.
25,000. Yeah. Right, because it's his friend and because, you know, whatever.
You know, how and like I said, we're then we have that 50-50 dichotomy or whatever the percentage is that were probably more horribly abused in ways that you know you can't even imagine, and they're not offenders. They don't possess child rape images. They don't, you know, too bad. You know that once you've crossed that line and you start offending, and that's the other thing that nobody wants to talk about. You just don't possess those images. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just not.
I mean, this is a Hollywood guy. I mean, he's got 70,000 followers. Then you have the tweet underneath it, some mental midget with a followers 157. I don't agree with what Mark Salling did. Oh, that's nice. I think it was awful, but I also don't think he was a bad person. So I feel sad that he saw no other way to end his own life. I loved him as Puck, and many others did too. Rest in peace, Mark. Like, what? Oh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That I mean,
well, you know,
no, this person can vote. This person can vote. Yeah, but Catherine, that's not. I mean, it's not. This isn't about this guy because he was Puck. This is about, you know,
an adult.
Nothing
Adult
about,
too.
Nothing about the children. You know, it's like, wait a second, 25,000 You know, they said, wait a second, right. 25,000 pictures. Well, that's a lot of. That's a lot of children. Yeah. Where did they get? Right. Where did they get 25,000? You know, like, wow, 25,000 exist. Gee, that would mean, all right, even if it's, you know, of the same, you know, some repeats. Wow, that would be 5,000, you know, rape victims. Gee, that seems like a lot.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But that they can't make that connection.
It's almost a quarter till. It's almost a quarter till. Can I tell the Disneyland story?
Do whatever you like.
Well, you know, I did say that I would.
I'm joking.
Okay, well, I am going to tell the Disneyland story.
Oh, and John, can we set up like an intro? Catherine, would you please tell the Disney story? I've been dying to hear it.
That's very good, Howie. You did that perfectly.
You're going to pay for that. You're going to pay for that. I promise you. Well, this is the thing. This was so random. So I was down at my niece's in the LA area, and we get a knock on the door. I answer the door. There's two girls there. They're beautiful, dressed so darling. We're your neighbors across the street, and we're having a birthday party, and we're inviting everyone in the neighborhood. We don't know anybody, but come over. And I said, I'm going. And so I told my niece, I said, you know what? I'm going to dress up, and I'm going to go over there. And so we did. We dressed up and went over. Well, so I'm over there, and I happen to find myself talking to this young man. And
okay. When was this?
2016, 2015.
Okay. And how old were these girls?
Mid-20s.
Oh,
Big
mid-20s.
bash.
Oh, mid-20s. Oh, okay.
They had huge cakes. They had 3 huge cakes. It was catered. It was awesome. So anyway, I find myself talking to this young man. Well, when I talk to young people, I always say something about Twitter because young people know about Twitter. And so we started talking about Twitter.
Young as you could give ages because you're saying young. Young can mean anything.
He's probably pushing 30. Maybe later 20s. So
late 20s.
Okay. So anyway, we started talking about Twitter, and I said something about Anonymous, and he looked like I threw water on him. And he said, well, I used to be part of Anonymous, and I actually got into a lot of trouble because of the work that I did with Anonymous, and it cost my parents a great deal of money. And he stressed a great deal of money. He said that a few times to get him out of trouble, and he did still do prison time. And so anyway, but while he's talking to me, he said, but, I did my prison time. I've gone to school. I'm an IT person, and now I'm going to work for the government. I'm going to be, one of the good guys and put my, bad habits to good use. So that's, his story. So that was good. So as we're talking, and he goes, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. And he said, my girlfriend used to work for an attorney, and the girlfriend was there at the party. And she worked for an attorney, a male, and he was going to take his 2 children to Disneyland, and he asked her to go with him and help. And so she agreed. They go to Disneyland. They have the 2 little ones, and they have 2 strollers. They took some things from one stroller to transfer to another stroller, and as quickly as it took the both of them to turn from one to the other, the 2-year-old baby disappeared. So they turn back around, and the baby is gone out of the stroller. They know immediately that the baby was taken, so they go, immediately to security. So security took them down underground to where all of the monitors are for their, cameras. And so security said to the father, he said, what are your child's features? As in the shape of your child's face. We don't want to know what your child is wearing. We don't want to know what color their hair is. We want to know features, those sorts of things. So the father, told them they're checking the cameras and everything. They find that baby at the turnstile exit going out of Disneyland with 2 Asian women, an older woman and a younger woman. That child had been taken into the bathroom, the hair cut, put coveralls on it, and its hair dyed brown. And they caught those 2 women. And so,
oh, shit.
Yeah. And so in follow-up, the officers, of course, the older woman, she evidently broke and told them that she was working for a trafficker, and they were looking for that specific of a child, that age, the light hair color, and that sort of thing. And that is as far as I know of the story. But, I know that young man was telling me the truth, and that happened in the Disneyland in the LA area.
Wow.
Well, and we'll have to do a couple shows on that, because these these theme parks, and I had a good friend of mine. His kid was molested in line at Universal Studios, and it was 40 men. He thought it was one guy, and it turned out to be 40 of them, 30 to 40 years old in a group going through the molesting kids in the line at Universal. So yeah, we need to look at that a lot harder, because these just like the Super Bowl coming up, these are places where these pedophiles go. I mean, wow, incredible. And I want to just talk a little bit, because we did kind of bounce around, but just please, and I'm going to be tweeting out some of these. There are links tomorrow. Just Google or DuckDuckGo Larry Nassar sentencing live, and it's probably every local station in the United States is carrying this. He's in another courtroom in front of another judge. I want to hear.
His life was a living hell.
Yeah, I think he's just going to die. I just think he's just going to die in that chair, which would be fine. But I want to. It was just, and the reason this was just so earth-shattering to me, because I've watched these trials, cases very closely, for years and years and years and years, and to see minor children standing up in open court, just blowing this guy away with their statements, with their head straight, eye contact, the parents standing there. The change that has taken place is just seismic. I mean, it's if that doesn't produce a tidal wave of survivors coming forward that haven't yet, or that are being abused right now and haven't come forward, or 20 years ago or whatever, I would just be shocked, because and that's the best thing, that the shame and guilt that's been associated, that the victims, that have been placed on the victims by society and by the court system and by every other societal supposed safeguard that should be in place, is gone, because I saw no evidence of it in that courtroom. And these, we're talking many from adult women now to minor children, their parents, and all these cases that we investigate. Well, the parents didn't want to come forward because of this reason. Those days are over. So that is one of the most encouraging things I've ever seen. And I've said this from day one, that the survivors are going to be the ones that lead us out of this mess, this swamp, whatever it is.
Quickly, in case there is someone that is a survivor or someone who is currently being harmed, how do you get out of that? The short answer, if you're in school, is you find a trusted teacher or an advisor or something like that. That's where you go, because they call CPS, and CPS gets in the middle of it immediately.
Yep. And if you're in Tennessee, we found out last week, you have a hotline you can call.
Right.
You can text.
There you go. That's
very powerful. I believe that there's still plenty of problems where people are coming forward and it's going nowhere.
Well, yes, so, I have several of those instances myself. That's why we need an organization with a hotline where if you're suffering, that we'll make sure that your story, that your situation does not get stonewalled or buried under a pile of papers or ignored.
Well, do yourself a favor, and I think the biggest thing that's going to change that is people just watching, what's going on, and that should be required watching in every classroom in the United States. It should be part of the curriculum to show what goes on. What better way to educate, our children to put them, in a position where if that were to happen to them, they can see what they can do, and they can see that they have a voice and that it's okay, and that the victims have nothing to be ashamed of. And it just, the picture that I posted with this was what, hold on for 1 second. I'm multitasking. I just, Winter Olympics just went out, but I'm just trying to get this. One of the survivors of Nassar that spoke in the classroom was Isabel Hutchins, the gymnast, and the quote and what we have in the show promo is, I am a part of our army of survivors, and there is strength in numbers. So that's what I want to close. And the other part was no longer ashamed, no longer afraid. I was never to blame. And it's the ribbon for survivor of child sexual abuse. And it's Judge Aquilina. God bless her. I wish there was 1,000 more like her. And just a picture of these survivors and their parents in that courtroom. And I think what went on in that courtroom is a major event that we have problems. Obviously, it doesn't mean we're slacking up, letting off the gas pedal in any way, shape, or form. But what went down in that courtroom is going to have full effect, and we've yet to see it. So the end of shame, and it couldn't. If it's not over, it's well on its way. And I think
survivors have a saying that a survivor doesn't let another survivor own someone else's crime.
Absolutely not.
It's a criminal act. It's a crime. It's a crime to hurt a child like that. It was a crime for someone to do that to you. You know what I mean? And so it's not, you did not commit a criminal act. Let them own their own stuff.
No. So
that's a pretty big hurdle for survivors.
Stay tuned. Yeah. Stay tuned, and we're going to be tweeting out links to that live courtroom tomorrow, and as long as it goes on. And please retweet them. Please share them. Facebook, Twitter, your family. People really need to see this, because I don't remember any trial that has had the potential positive impact that this has right now going forward. It's huge.
Well, and if the general public will get behind this and say, this is the standard that we want, this is the judges that we want, and it will definitely make a difference, and it is very powerful.
And the politicians, all coming. We're going to talk about all those things. The 2018 elections are coming. The laws need to be changed locally, at the state level, at the federal level. So the people who are going to do that are the people we're going to elect, coming up here in a very short time. So the music's coming.
No, I thought it was coming already. But all right, and we have an opportunity this weekend with the Super. Let's just get out there.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday.
All right. Go Eagles.
Release the memo.
Release the memo.
Release the memo.